It's so crazy now to think about who I used to be when I was a Mormon girl growing up in the 80s and going to like my church building with my parents and like going to girls' camp every summer and, going to like primary activities during the week and having Sunday dinner every Sunday and having missionaries over, sitting at our family table. It was an amazing time to be alive if you were a Mormon kid in the 80s. We had a whole Mormon soundtrack that was like, I'm a Mormon, yes I am. And like we would listen to it on our cassette player in our old Mercedes. Like, do you remember the Mercedes diesel sedans where you would start them and they would make that like diesel engine sound of like you were like in a Mack truck, but you weren't. You were in a four-door sedan. We had two cream-colored old Mercedes sedans. At the time, they were new, okay, in the 80s. But those leather squeaky seats that were like real supple leather with like the little dots in them. And I remember sitting in the back seat of the Mercedes on the way to Utah with my three other siblings. We were like double buckling. And my parents were in the front with their sheepskin seat covers, and they would put in the Mormon primary songs cassette tape in the 80s, and we would drive across the Salt Flats because I lived in Northern California to Salt Lake where my mom's family lived and be listening to I'm a Mormon, yes I am. I am telling you, the 80s being Mormon as a kid was the time. I remember the church buildings. I remember running through the church buildings as a kid. I remember sitting in the pews with my parents and feeling like the pews were so big and heavy, and taking the sacrament from a young age, having baby blessings. Like, it was such a nostalgic time. If you grew up going to church, no matter what religion you are, and you think back to your times as a child, even if you have church hurt, and even if, you were really hurt in the church, there are some amazing memories that you can't get back that are, at least for me, a really special, sweet time of my childhood, because I was able to see modeled for me people loving other people serving other people, community, coming together, having war dinners, everybody bringing a dish, wrapped in their saran wrap or foil or in their, cloth zip up casserole dish holders. Everybody bringing something. We had dishes in Mormonism that, you just can't recreate. We had green jello with shredded carrots. That was a huge dish. Funeral potatoes, which if you've never had funeral potatoes, I'm going to tell you right now, you need to look that up and you need to make that dish for Easter this year. It is like shredded potatoes frozen from the frozen section with like cheese and cream of mushroom soup and sour cream. Yes, it is as sinful as it sounds, and it's delicious. But we would all bring like these different dishes to these potlucks. I remember one time in 4th of July, I was in Utah. Utah took it to a whole new level. I was a California Mormon, so I didn't have some of these treats, but like when I would go visit my family members in Utah, I remember one 4th of July, we had scones. I don't remember who made it. It was probably an aunt or an uncle. Now, these are not the dry, it for sure was not an uncle. It was an aunt because the women were in the kitchen. Okay. But it was like not a scone you get at like a coffee house nowadays where it's like a hockey puck and it's like hard and baked. No, this was a piece of like pillowy, yeasty bread dough that had been rising for hours. And they took a piece of it and they actually rolled them out and cut them into squares. I'll never forget the shape. It was a square. It was about the size of like a piece of Wonder Bread. And they would fry it in oil. And then as soon as it puffed up into this golden, greasy, toasty brown, they would like dip it in cinnamon and sugar or powdered sugar and just hand it to you. And I'm going to add this. In Utah, they added butter and honey to it. Drippy, melty butter. And when honey gets warm when it's sitting on a piece of warm bread? It was like this drippy, warm butter and honey mixture in this fried scone. And they only make them at 4th of July. I am telling you, growing up in this faith was awesome. It was amazing. It was a great way to grow up. And it's days that you'll never get back, such nostalgia. So these are the things that I want to give to my kids. I want my kids to grow up having these memories of girls' camp, having these memories of Pioneer Day, I know my older kids have these memories, and they're great memories. And I think they're going to have to get maybe to my age, like 50, before they recognize the value of them. But these are the things that I love about community that you find within a church and that I want my kids to have.